guys, TJ here. So I thought I'd do a very quick video for you. Now this is a question that I get asked on a regular basis. Okay, service accommodation sounds amazing. So how much is it going to cost me to actually get started in a business? So I thought I'd do a very quick overview picture for you. Now of course these are not facts. These are based on individual properties and individual situations. But I'll give you just a brief example about how much it might cost you if you wanted to get started in serviced accommodation. In fact, I've got some figures here and I'll just run these figures past you. Now you have to bear in mind that rental figures vary across the entire country. So take these as some examples and then look at the figures in your specific area, look at some figures in some outer areas, and look at some figures in some really exciting and buoyant areas as well. Then make a decision with regards to where you desire to operate your serviced accommodation business. So let's go straight into this. If you wanted to start your serviced accommodation business, the normal way, now when I say the normal way, this is the way that most people, so especially the brand new people, this is the way they usually get into the market. So they would usually speak to an estate agent. Now the estate agent has a way of doing business. If you wanted to rent a property from an estate agent for your service accommodation business, you would generally pay 1 month rent, 6 weeks deposit, and then the agent's reference fee or administrative fees. So just to give you a better understanding, for example, one of my properties here, we paid the estate agent £1,600 for the first month rent. We paid a deposit, which is 6 weeks equivalent. So in order to divide that, really simple way to do that is take the monthly rental, divide it by 4.33, get the weekly, then times it by 6. So in the case where we paid £1,600 as the monthly rental, we also had to pay a 6 weeks deposit to the estate agent, and that was for £2,217. So altogether, that's £1,600 plus £2,217 plus £250 for the administrative fees and £350 for the referencing. Now, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but you can kind of calculate how much roughly that's going to cost you. So let's say 1,600, 2,000 odd. So it's nearly about £4,000 that is usually put down to acquire a serviced accommodation unit. Now, it depends on your ability to negotiate. It depends on your skill. It depends on your skill set. Because we've also taken on properties where all we've paid is 1 month rent because we've been able to negotiate or explain to the agent or the landlord why it doesn't make sense for us in this specific case to pay a deposit. Now, generally, when we take on larger developments or when I negotiate on larger developments, we never ever pay deposits because it's easier to put a business case forward as to why it doesn't make sense or any financial sense to put down a deposit. I usually call it dead money when I'm speaking to an agent or a developer. So there's times that we've sourced developments and we've been able to say to the landlord or the developer or the agent that in this case, we will not be putting down a deposit because if we're tying down a £10,000, £20,000, £30,000 deposit, it makes more financial sense for us to take on another development with that money. It doesn't make any business sense to tie up £10,000, £20,000, £30,000 in deposits that you, Mr. Agent, will not have access to because you're probably going to put it in some sort of security bond or you're going to hold on to it and we'll sign an agreement to say what you can do and what you cannot do with that. So the first way, remember, is 1 month rent, 6 weeks deposit. There are some agents that are willing to consider 1 month rent, 4 weeks deposit. The second way is to negotiate no deposit. Of course, that's more favorable because in the case of this deal that I've got here, if we took on this property with no deposit, then we would have only paid 1,600 plus the agent's fees and the referencing fees, which would then bring it to 2,100 or 2,200. I hope these figures make sense to you. Now, I also have clients who have been able to negotiate using something called a deposit replacement scheme. Now, I have to interject here because there's times that I've taught this and some people think it's gospel and they believe that every agent or every landlord or every developer is going to go for it. No, it depends on your ability to discuss it. It depends on your ability to persuade the agent to understand what a deposit replacement scheme is. Now, your ability to do that will save you a lot of money. because in this case, you might be able to encourage the landlord, the agent, or the developer to give you their property. Now, they still get the same cover with regards to the deposit money, physical money that they were going to take, but all they do is they have technically an insurance bond. So you go to a specific deposit replacement insurance company, you pay them a fee, which is usually 1 week of your rent, and they set you up, or they set up the landlord using a deposit replacement scheme, which means the landlord can still claim back. However, you don't have to, as the operator, put down thousands and thousands of pounds down as a physical deposit. So if you want to save money, then get yourself the ability to negotiate properly, to negotiate well, and understand the product, and make sure that the agent or the landlord or the developer understands the benefits of you not putting down the deposit. So that's one way. The second way is 4 weeks deposit. The third way is no deposit. The fourth way is deposit insurance. Now, something else that can make your costs go up when you're taking on your first unit is if you get it through a deal packager or a sourcer. So remember, I gave you some figures here of 1,600 plus 2,217 plus the agent's fees plus the referencing fees. Now, if you use the deal packager, that might charge you 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000. That's how your costs start to go up. I hope that makes sense. So if you can find the property yourself, amazing. But if you have to use a sourcer, then your costs start to go up and up and up. But again, it's entirely up to you. If you don't have the confidence or the desire to chase the properties, because it could take you months to find that first property, if a sourcer has the property and you trust the sourcer, then you could buy the deal from the deal packager or the sourcer. Then also, the last one I've got here is, what you could do in order to keep your costs down is negotiate with the landlord or the agent that you would be willing to do some work in the property. Now, one of my clients loves using that specific model. They would go into a property, and as always, to get a property up to a very amazing standard, there's going to be one or two things that need to get done. And his ability is, he uses that to say to the landlord, I will fix the stuff that I would have required you or requested you to do, but I would fix it on my own dime and on my own pocket and on my own time. In exchange for that, I don't want to pay a deposit. Now remember, one thing that you must do, and this is critical, try your best to negotiate not paying a deposit if you end up furnishing the property yourself. A lot of times, a lot of landlords take on a deposit because they feel you're going to mess up their property, or you're going to destroy the furnishing, or you're going to mess up the place. Now, if you're painting the place with your bare hands, of course not with a toothbrush, but with the paintbrush, then of course you've got a greater leg to stand on when it comes down to not paying the deposit. But again, I'm not saying don't pay a deposit. I pay deposits in some deals that I'm just not able to persuade the landlord or the agent to give to me without the deposit. So don't get stuck on it. If you've got the funds to pay it, consider it. If you'd like to negotiate, get in the habit of negotiating. But in some cases, you just have to pay the deposit. In fact, in most cases, you do. But get in the habit of negotiating and asking questions. I wish you all the best. I'll catch you soon.